Today we're going to talk about demonstrative adjectives and or pronouns. In Spanish, there are three types of demonstratives that show the relationship between people and objects in space and also in time. Okay, the first one we have are the ones when we're referring to someone that is, or something, or someone that is close to the person speaking. In English, we often think of these as this or these. So we have the masculine este or estos for singular and plural, the feminine esta and estas, and then the neuter, which we'll talk about in a moment. There's another one that, much like English, is used to express the idea of that or those. And we also have a masculine esse and essos, a feminine essa and essas, and a neuter when we don't know what we're talking about or we're talking about an idea in general. In Spanish, we add a third demonstrative that can be helpful for us explaining things. The easiest translation for that is this or that over there. So it's far away from both the speaker and from the person to whom the speaker is speaking. So aquel means that over there. That car, if I say aquel coche, I'm referring to a car that's a long ways away from me and from the person I'm speaking to, in contrast to the car that is right next to me, este coche, or the car that is right next to you, ese coche. Let's look at a couple other examples for a minute. Demonstrative pronouns and adjectives are generally used before nouns, and they agree in gender and number. So this first example, este artículo, since artículo is masculine, we're going to use este, es muy interesante. Esa blusa, that blouse, fits well. Well, since blusa is feminine, I'm talking about something over there, I'm going to say esa. And this final example, jóvenes being plural, we would say aquellos jóvenes. Those young people way over there are watching us. Generally in Spanish, we don't use demonstratives to introduce people. So instead of saying este es mi amigo Juan, I would say él es mi amigo Juan. It's somewhat derogatory to use these in most common speech with people. Now, we can also use demonstrative adjectives in a temporal use, that is to define something in space and time. Okay, so in time, we generally use este, esta, or estos, or estas to show something that's close to the present. If I'm writing an essay, for example, and I've just mentioned a concept, I'm going to say este or esta or esto, that we'll see in a minute, because I've just mentioned it. Esse and essa refer generally to something in the past, something that we haven't referred to a long time, or something that is well over. Let's look at some examples. Este fin de semana habrá un partido de fútbol. This weekend. Uno de estos días, one of these days. Este año será muy divertido. If I'm talking about the past, though, en esa época, in that time period, a long time ago, la gente vivía en casas muy humildes. Or here's a future event. En 3 semanas habrá una elección en el país. En ese día, on that day, in the future, la gente elegirá un líder nuevo. So that brings up the concept of esto, eso, and aquello. These words are generally used to refer to objects or concepts that we don't really know all about or that don't fit into a nice box. So, for example, the question, ¿qué es esto? Well, if I don't know what it is, I can't assign a gender to it, and therefore I can't say ¿qué es este or esta? Because I don't know if it's masculine or feminine. I also, though, can talk about a general idea. So, esto que escribiste, that thing, the article, the idea, que escribiste en el periódico me preocupa mucho. So I'm not talking about, or this thing that you wrote. I'm not talking about something very specific. I'm talking about a general idea. Tuvo un examen la semana pasada. Eso me molestó mucho. That bothered me. The whole idea that test bothered me. So I can refer to these, and oftentimes we're going to do this to encapsulate a small idea altogether. Okay, now one final little point. Before 2010, we had to make a difference between a pronoun. Now, the pronoun este replaces the book. This is my favorite book. And an adjective, this book. Notice how the adjective goes together and modifies book. We don't have to do this anymore. Sometimes, in cases of ambiguity, you can still put it. It's not wrong to put an accent. But in modern speech, we don't need to worry about, modern writing, I should say, we don't need to worry about putting the accents. All right, there we go, demonstratives. Take a look at the practice exercises, and good luck.